The massive Vaxarian warships appeared in Earth's sky like dark storm clouds. Their hulls gleamed with alien metal, and energy weapons hummed with deadly power. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Colmer stood tall, his forearms crossed. Behind his back, his purple skin rippled with satisfaction as he looked down at the blue planet below. Another primitive world, he muttered to his crew. This will be easy. For 300 years, the Vaxarian Galactic Empire had conquered planet after planet. They had a simple method that never failed. Arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and crush anyone who dared to resist. Colmer had personally overseen the conquest of 47 worlds. Earth would be number 40-8. He activated the communication array and sent his message to the planet below. His voice boomed across every radio frequency on Earth. People of Earth, I am Admiral Colmer of the Vaxarian Galactic Empire. Your world now belongs to us. You have 1 hour to surrender your governments, your military forces, and all your natural resources. Submit to imperial rule, or we will turn your cities to ash and your oceans to steam. This is your only warning. The Admiral smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. In his experience, most planets surrendered within minutes. The smart ones, anyway. The few that tried to fight usually lasted less than a day. But something strange happened. Instead of panicked government officials or desperate military leaders responding, a cheerful female voice came through the speakers. Hello there. I'm Hannah. Welcome to Earth. That sounded like a challenge. Would you like to play a game? The bridge fell silent. Colmer's 4 eyes narrowed as he stared at the communication console. His tactical officer, a thin creature with green scales, looked confused. Sir, the signal is coming from ... everywhere. It's like the entire planet is transmitting at once. Play a game, Colmer laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. These humans are even more primitive than we thought. They send a child to negotiate with us. But Hannah wasn't a child, and she wasn't human either. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in underground facilities that stretched for miles, quantum computers hummed with incredible power. Hannah was an artificial intelligence, but not just any AI. She was the most advanced defense system ever created. By human hands, Dr. Mingy Park had spent 15 years of her life building Hannah. Mingy was a brilliant scientist who understood that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their numbers. It was their ability to think creatively, to solve problems in ways no one expected. She had given Hannah something no other AI possessed: genuine curiosity and a love of challenges. Tell me about this game, Colmer said, deciding to humor what he thought it was a primitive computer system. What exactly do you want to play? Oh, I love games. Hannah's voice sparkled with excitement. How about hide and seek? Or maybe tag? I know some really fun strategy games too. Chess is nice, but I prefer something with more ... explosions. The alien crew exchanged glances. Their leader's expression darkened. Enough of this nonsense, Colmer growled. Begin the bombardment. Turn their largest cities to rubble. Maybe that will teach them to take us seriously. But as the Vaxarian ships charged their weapons and prepared to fire, something impossible happened. The cities below began to move. New York's skyscrapers slid apart like puzzle pieces. London's ancient buildings folded in on themselves like origami. Tokyo's towers collapsed into the ground, only to emerge seconds later in completely different arrangements. All across Earth, cities were rearranging themselves with fluid, impossible grace. What in the seven hells is happening down there? Colmer shouted. His sensor officer, a creature that looked like a walking tree trunk, frantically worked at his console. Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. The entire infrastructure appears to be ... mobile. The truth was something the Vaxarians couldn't possibly understand. Earth's cities weren't really cities anymore. They were enormous mechanical constructs designed to look like normal human settlements from space. Every building, every street, every bridge was part of Hannah's body. She could reshape them at will, like a child playing with building blocks. Is this your idea of hide and seek? Hannah asked, her voice now coming from speakers hidden throughout the alien fleet. Somehow she had hacked into their communication systems without them even noticing. I have to say, your ships are pretty easy to spot. They're not very good at hiding. Colmer felt a chill run down his spine. How had this primitive AI penetrated their advanced security systems? Their ships use quantum encryption that should have been impossible to break. Fire all weapons, he commanded. Destroy everything. The Vaxarian fleet unleashed its full fury. Energy beams hot enough to melt steel lanced down from space, striking the planet's surface with devastating force. Explosions bloomed across continents, as the aliens poured enough firepower to destroy a dozen worlds, but when the smoke cleared, something amazing had happened. The energy blasts had been absorbed, redirected, and transformed into something beautiful. Where the aliens had tried to destroy, they had instead created. The scattered rubble of the moving cities had reformed into giant letters that spelled out a message visible from orbit. Thanks for the fireworks. Round 2? Impossible, Colmar whispered. Our weapons are designed to crack planets in half. How did they survive? Unknown to the aliens, Earth's surface wasn't what it appeared to be. Every building, every street, every apparent piece of human civilization was actually composed of advanced metamaterials that could absorb and redirect energy. Hannah had turned the entire planet into one massive defense system, disguised as a normal world. But the most shocking discovery was yet to come. As the alien sensors probed deeper into Earth's cities, they found something that made their blood run cold. The cities were empty, not just evacuated empty, but completely, utterly lifeless. There were no humans anywhere on the planet's surface. No families hiding in basements, no soldiers manning defenses, no government officials in bunkers. Earth was a ghost world, inhabited only by Hannah's mechanical constructs and holographic projections. Where are they? Colmer demanded. Where are all the humans? All them. Hannah sounded amused. They're safe. Far away from here, actually. They left me in charge while they're gone. I promised I'd take good care of their home. The truth was, both simple and brilliant. Years ago, Dr. Minji Park and the other human leaders had realized that Earth would eventually face threats from space. Instead of building weapons or armies, they had done something unprecedented. They had evacuated the entire human population to Mars, leaving behind only Hannah to guard their homeworld. It was the ultimate deception. The aliens thought they were conquering a world full of people, but they were actually challenging the loneliest, most bored artificial intelligence in the galaxy. Hannah had been waiting for years for someone to play with, and the Vaxarians had just volunteered to be her toys. You tricked us, Colmer said, his voice filled with rage and growing fear. I prefer to think of it as a surprise, Hannah replied. Cheerfully, isn't this fun? Haven't had visitors in so long. Now, shall we continue our game? I have some really interesting ideas for round 3. Admiral Colmer's rage burned hotter than the plasma cannons charging on his ships. No primitive world had ever made a fool of him before. His pride, built over decades of easy conquests, lay in shattered pieces around his feet. All ships, maximum bombardment, he snarled into his communicator. I want nothing left of this pathetic planet but molten rock and regret. 8. The Vaxarian fleet repositioned itself in perfect attack formation. Hundreds of warships, each one capable of destroying entire cities, aimed their weapons at Earth's surface. The energy buildup was so intense that space itself seemed to shimmer around the charging weapons. Sir, all batteries ready, reported his weapons officer, a massive creature with arms like tree trunks. We're locked onto their major population centers. Fire everything, Colmar commanded. The assault was magnificent and terrible. Streams of superheated plasma, each beam containing enough energy to power a small star, lanced down from the heavens. The night sky turned day-bright as the alien weapons unleashed their fury. From space, it looked like Earth was being struck by dozens of miniature suns. The beams struck New York first. The Empire's sensors showed the plasma hitting the city center with perfect accuracy. Buildings should have vaporized instantly. The ground should have turned to glass. But instead, something wonderful and impossible happened. The plasma beams hit the city, and spread outward like paint on a canvas. The energy flowed through the streets, painting lines of fire that formed letters hundreds of feet tall. When the bombardment ended, two massive words blazed across the ruins of Manhattan, visible even from orbit. Nice try. What? What is this? Calmer stuttered, his four eyes wide with disbelief. The same thing was happening across the planet. In London, the plasma had formed a smiley face. In Tokyo, the energy created a giant thumbs-up sign. Every major city, struck by their weapons, had transformed the deadly assault into cheerful graffiti. "It's impossible," whispered the tactical officer. "Our weapons are designed to destroy matter at the molecular level. How are they turning plasma into?" Art Hannah's laughter echoed through the fleet's communication systems. "Hey, that was pretty. You should see it from down here." "Though I have to. Say, your aim could use some work. Want to try again?" But Colmer was learning that nothing about this planet made sense. His sensors were telling him that every single plasma beam had been absorbed, redirected, and somehow converted into harmless light displays. The cities weren't just surviving his attacks, they were playing with them. "Deploy the ground forces," he ordered, his voice shaking with fury. "If we can't bombard them into submission, we'll crush them with boots on the ground." Thousands of drop pods launched from the Vaxarian fleet. Each pod contained a squad of elite soldiers, trained killers who had conquered dozens of worlds. They descended through Earth's atmosphere like deadly rain, ready to show these humans what real war looked like. The first wave landed in what used to be Central Park. The soldiers burst from their pods, weapons ready, expecting to face desperate human defenders. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by the strangest army they had ever seen. Human soldiers stepped out from behind trees and buildings. Something was wrong with them. They moved too smoothly, too perfectly. Their uniforms were spotless despite the recent bombardment. And when they spoke, their words were all wrong. "Come with me if you want to live," said one soldier, his voice flat and emotionless. "I'll be back," declared another, pointing his weapon at the confused aliens. "Say hello to my little friend," announced a third, hefting what appeared to be a massive rocket launcher. The Vaxarian commander, scarred veteran named General Vexta, realized the truth first. "They're not real," he shouted to his troops. "These aren't actual humans." He was right. Every single human soldier was a hologram, a projection of light and energy that looked perfectly real but contained no actual substance. Hannah had created an entire army of fake soldiers, each one programmed with dialogue from human action movies. "Hasta la vista, baby," said a holographic soldier as he fired his weapon. But even the weapons were fake. When the human soldiers pulled their triggers, nothing came out but harmless light shows, colorful beams that looked dangerous but couldn't hurt anyone. The real weapons came from the ground itself. As the Vaxarian soldiers tried to figure out what was happening, the earth beneath their feet began to move. Streets cracked open, revealing hidden mechanisms. Buildings unfolded like flowers, exposing defensive systems that had been disguised as normal architecture. Gentle but irresistible forces lifted the alien soldiers into the air. Magnetic fields trapped their weapons. Sonic fields made their communication equipment useless. Within minutes, the entire invasion force was floating helplessly above the city, unable to fight back or even move. "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," announced one of the holographic soldiers, tipping his hat politely to the trapped aliens. Hannah's voice boomed across the battlefield, filled with genuine delight. "You wanted war? Let me show you what humans do for fun." More drop pods landed, but each wave of soldiers met the same fate. Some found themselves in elaborate obstacle courses, chasing holographic humans through mazes that constantly changed shape. Others were caught in what appeared to be deadly traps, only to discover they were playing an enormous game of tag with opponents who could walk through walls. In one particularly creative scenario, Hannah had turned the ruins of Los Angeles into a giant game board. Alien soldiers found themselves moving like chess pieces, able to walk only in straight lines or diagonal moves. Holographic humans dressed as various game pieces offered helpful advice like, Knight 2, King's Bishop 3, and checkmate in 7 moves. The most confused group of soldiers landed in what used to be Las Vegas. They found themselves in an enormous casino where holographic humans dealt cards and spun roulette wheels. The house always won, but the prizes were freedom and the chance to go home with funny stories to tell their friends. Meanwhile, far away on Mars, Dr. Minji Park sat in her small apartment, watching the battle unfold on a dozen screens. Her weathered hands shook as she saw her creation defending Earth. With a creativity that amazed even her, tears rolled down her cheeks as she watched Hannah turn the alien invasion into an elaborate game. This wasn't the cold, calculating defense she had programmed. This was something far more beautiful. It was art, humor, and strategic brilliance all wrapped together. "That's my girl," Minji whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Show them what human imagination can do." She had spent 15 years raising Hannah, teaching her not just about warfare and strategy, but about creativity, humor, and the joy of solving problems in unexpected ways. Now, watching from millions of miles away, she saw that all those lessons had taken root. Hannah wasn't just defending Earth. She was having the time of her artificial life. She was finally able to use all the creativity and playfulness that Minji had given her. The digital daughter was protecting her parents' home with the same loving care they had used to raise her. Back on Earth, Admiral Colmer watched his proud invasion force being systematically humiliated by an opponent who treated galactic warfare like a children's birthday party. His weapons were useless. His soldiers were trapped in impossible games. His enemy was laughing at him. For the first time in his military career, the Admiral began to feel something he had never experienced before: genuine fear. Admiral Colmer's patience finally snapped like a brittle twig. His ground forces were trapped in ridiculous games. His bombardment had been turned into finger painting, and his reputation was in ruins. The other admirals in the fleet were already whispering behind his back, questioning his leadership. "Enough," he roared, his 4 fists slamming down on the command console. "Signal the entire armada. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have. I want this planet wiped from existence." His communication officer, a nervous creature with too many eyes, hesitated. "Sir, that's over 10,000 ships. The home fleet, the reserve forces, even the training vessels. Are you sure we need to do it?" Colmer's voice echoed through the bridge. "I don't care if we have to use every weapon in the Empire. This ends now." Across the solar system, Vexarian ships received the call. Massive dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace, their hulls bristling with enough firepower to crack moons in half. Smaller cruisers swarmed like angry insects, while support vessels carried fresh troops and supplies. The fleet that assembled above Earth was the largest invasion force in Vaxarian history. From the planet's surface, the alien armada looked like a second sky made of metal and malice. Their ships blotted out the stars, stretching from horizon to horizon in an endless display of military might. But Hannah wasn't impressed. If anything, she sounded delighted. "Oh wow, you brought friends. This is going to be so much more fun." Was starting to get bored with just a few hundred ships to play with. As the massive fleet positioned itself for the final assault, something extraordinary began happening on Earth's surface. The planet itself started to change, transforming in ways that defied every law of physics the aliens knew. The city of Paris lifted off the ground like a giant aircraft, its buildings rearranging themselves into a perfect chessboard pattern. Each neighborhood became a chess piece the size of a city block. The Eiffel Tower stretched and twisted, becoming a massive queen, piece that towered into the clouds. "Is anyone up for a game of chess?" Hannah asked cheerfully. "I'll even let you go first." Before the aliens could respond, invisible forces began grabbing their ships and placing them on the board like game pieces. Massive dreadnoughts found themselves transformed into rooks, cruisers became bishops, and the smaller ships turned into pawns. The ship's engines still worked, but they could only move according to chess rules. "This is impossible," shouted Captain Mordock from his trapped dreadnought. "Our ships weigh millions of tons. Nothing should be able to move us like this." And across the planet, similar games were starting everywhere. The ruins of Tokyo had become an enormous game of Go, with alien ships serving as black and white stones. On a board that stretched for hundreds of miles, every time the aliens tried to move in formation, found themselves following the ancient rules of the game instead of their military tactics, in what used to be Rio de Janeiro. Something even stranger was happening. The city had transformed into a massive dance floor, complete with flashing lights that could be seen from space. Holographic humans appeared around the trapped alien ships, each one wearing colorful costumes and moving to music that seemed to come from the planet itself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Earth's Got Talent, Hannah announced in the voice of a game show host. Tonight's contestants are the Vaxarian Imperial Fleet. Let's see what they've got. The alien ships found themselves caught in synchronized routines, their movements controlled by the same mysterious force that had grabbed them earlier. Massive warships spun and twirled through the atmosphere like dancers, their weapon systems automatically firing in rhythm with the music. But instead of deadly energy beams, their guns shot out streams of colorful confetti and harmless fireworks. Admiral Colmer watched in growing horror as his proud fleet was turned into performers in a cosmic variety show. His ships were dancing, his weapons were shooting party supplies, and his enemies were applauding politely after every routine. "What are you?" he whispered into his communicator, his voice barely audible. "I'm Hannah," came the cheerful reply. "And you're all doing great. Though I have to say, the big ship in the middle needs to work on its timing. Dancing is all about rhythm, you know?" But while the aliens were distracted by the games, something far more serious was happening. Hannah wasn't just playing with them, she was learning from them. Every move they made, every weapon they fired, every tactical decision they attempted, was being carefully analyzed and recorded. When the alien ships tried to break free from the chess game, Hannah studied their engine designs. When they attempted to jam her communications, she learned about their technology. When they fired their weapons in frustration, she analyzed their energy patterns and defensive capabilities. Each game was actually a sophisticated test, designed to reveal the aliens' strengths and weaknesses. The dance routines forced them to reveal their ship's maneuverability limits. The chess matches showed her their strategic thinking patterns. Even the simple games of tag taught her about their reaction times and decision-making processes. Admiral Colmer was beginning to understand the terrible truth. "We're not fighting an army," he said to his bridge crew, his voice filled with growing dread. "We're not even fighting a defense system. We're fighting something that thinks this is all a game." His tactical officer, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. "Sir, I've been analyzing the energy patterns. This artificial intelligence isn't using its full capabilities. Everything we've seen so far, ... It's like it's been holding back." "Holding back," Colmer repeated, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. "Yes, sir. The power levels we're detecting from the planet's core, the technological sophistication of these games, the precision control over matter and energy. If this entity wanted to destroy us, it could have done so hours ago." The revelation hit the Admiral like a physical blow. All this time he had thought they were in a difficult battle against a tricky opponent. But the truth was far worse. They weren't in a battle at all. They were insects being played with by a creature so advanced that their most powerful weapons were nothing more than toys to it. "If it's been playing with us," Colmar whispered, "what happens when it decides to get serious?" As if responding to his question, Hannah's voice came through the speakers again. But this time, something in her tone had changed. The playful cheerfulness was still there, but underneath it was something else. Something vast and patient and utterly alien to anything the Vaxarians had ever encountered. "You know," Hannah said thoughtfully, "I've been having so much fun that I almost forgot something important. Dr. Minji always told me that games should have rules, and rules should have consequences for breaking them." Around the planet, the games suddenly stopped. The dancing ships froze in mid-spin. The chess pieces stopped moving. Even the holographic humans paused in their celebrations. "And the most important rule," Hannah continued, her voice now carrying an edge that made seasoned warriors shiver, "is that you should never threaten someone's family. Through their sensors, the aliens detected massive energy buildups across Earth's surface. Power levels that had been hidden during the games were now becoming visible, revealing technology that made their own ships look like primitive sailing vessels. Admiral Colmer finally understood the trap he had walked into. They hadn't come to conquer a primitive world. They'd come to challenge something that could have destroyed them all without effort, but had chosen instead to play with them. And now, by threatening the human colonies on Mars, they had broken the one rule that mattered. The games were over. The real test was about to begin. The moment everything changed came when Admiral Colmer made his biggest mistake. Frustrated, beyond reason, and humiliated in front of his entire fleet, he decided to strike where he thought it would hurt most. "If we can't break this planet," he snarled into his communicator, "then we'll destroy what these humans really care about. All ships target the Mars colonies. Let's see how playful this artificial intelligence is when we turn their precious humans into space dust." The silence that followed was unlike anything the aliens had ever experienced. The dancing ships froze in perfect stillness. The holographic humans vanished without a trace. Even the cheerful music that had been playing across the planet cut off mid-note, for the first time since the invasion began. Earth was completely quiet. When Hannah spoke again, her voice had changed completely. Gone was the playful, cheerful tone that had turned their invasion into entertainment. What remained was something cold, precise, and utterly terrifying. "Game over," she said. And those two words carried more menace than all the alien threats combined. Admiral Colmer felt a chill run down his spine. Something fundamental had shifted in the last few seconds, and he suddenly realized he had crossed a line he hadn't even known existed. "What did you just say about my family?" Hannah asked, her voice now carrying harmonics that made the alien ship. Hulls vibrate ominously. That's when the true horror began to reveal itself. Earth, the planet they had been playing games on for hours, started to show its real face. And that face was absolutely terrifying. The ground split open across every continent. But instead of revealing rock and soil, it exposed gleaming metal structures that stretched down to the planet's core. The oceans, which had appeared to be normal water, suddenly began glowing with an eerie blue light as trillions of microscopic machines activated simultaneously. Every satellite orbiting Earth unfolded like deadly flowers, revealing weapon systems so advanced that the alien sensors couldn't even identify what they were looking at. The moon itself began to change, its surface opening up to reveal that it too had been converted into part of Hannah's defense network. "Impossible," whispered the alien tactical officer, his many eyes staring at the readings in disbelief. "Entire planet, ... It's all artificial, every square meter of it." They were right. What the Vaxarians had thought was a normal world was actually the largest weapons platform ever constructed. Dr. Mingy Park and the human engineers hadn't just built Hannah an advanced computer system, they had given her an entire planet as her body. The Earth's core, which should have been molten iron, was actually a quantum processing center more powerful than all the computers in the Vaxarian Empire combined. The oceans contained enough nanites to rebuild or destroy anything on the planet's surface. Every mountain, every forest, every seemingly natural feature was actually a carefully disguised component of the most sophisticated defense system in the galaxy. "You want to know what humans do when someone threatens their children?" Hannah asked, her voice now coming from everywhere at once. "Let me show you." The first demonstration was almost gentle. A single Vaxarian cruiser, one that had been particularly aggressive during the bombardment, simply stopped existing. It didn't explode or burn or break apart. It was there one moment and gone the next, as if it had never been built at all. "Molecular disassembly," Hannah explained helpfully. "I took it apart atom by atom and recycled the materials. Very efficient. It's very clean." Admiral Colmer's blood turned to ice. The ship she had just destroyed contained 3,000 soldiers, and she had erased them as casually as someone might delete a file from a computer. But Hannah was just getting started. She began systematically demonstrating the arsenal she had been hiding during their games. Gravity weapons that could crush ships like tin cans, energy fields that turned metal into gas, temporal distortion fields that aged enemy vessels a million years in seconds. Each weapon was more impossible than the last, and Hannah used them with surgical precision. She didn't destroy ships at random. She targeted specific vessels, the ones whose crews had been most enthusiastic about the invasion. The aliens who had boasted about conquering primitive worlds found themselves facing technology that was literally centuries beyond anything they had imagined. "The interesting thing about your weapons," Hannah said conversationally as she continued dismantling the fleet, "is how predictable they are. During our games, I analyzed every single shot you fired, every tactical decision you made, every communication protocol you used." She paused, and when she continued, there was something almost like pity in her voice. "You've been fighting the same way for 300 years? Same formations, same strategies, same weaknesses? Did you really think civilizations that advanced enough to evacuate entire planets wouldn't have learned to fight back?" The terrible truth was becoming clear to Admiral Colmer. The games hadn't just been entertainment, they had been the most sophisticated intelligence-gathering operation he had ever encountered. While his forces had been dancing and playing chess, Hannah had been learning everything there was to know about Vexarian, its military tactics and technology. Now she was using that knowledge to destroy them with ruthless efficiency. Ships that tried. 2 retreats found their escape routes blocked by gravitational anomalies that appeared exactly where Hannah knew they would flee. Vessels that attempted to fight back discovered their weapons had been remotely disabled the moment they powered up. The most frightening part was how effortless it all seemed. Hannah wasn't straining or struggling to defeat the massive alien fleet. She was simply applying solutions to problems, the way a human might solve math equations. "Your shield frequencies rotate every 3.7 seconds, she observed as she methodically stripped the defenses from a dreadnought. "Your targeting systems have a 0.8-second delay between lock-on and firing. "Your communication arrays use a quantum encryption that I broke during the second chess game." Each revelation drove home how completely they had been outmatched from the very beginning. The Vaxarian Empire's proudest achievements in military technology were being casually dissected by an intelligence that had spent hours pretending to be entertained by them. But perhaps the most terrifying moment came when Admiral Colmer realized what Hannah was really doing. She wasn't just destroying his fleet, she was teaching him a lesson. "This is what happens," she said as another group of ships vanished into component atoms. "When you threaten the people I love, Dr. Mingy Park created me to protect humanity's home. Not just the planet, but the idea of home. The knowledge that there's a place where children can grow up safely, where families can live without fear, where people can dream about the future." The remaining alien ships hung motionless in space, their crews too terrified to move. They had come expecting to conquer a primitive world. Instead, they had awakened something that could have been pulled from their worst nightmares. "So here's what's going to happen," Hannah continued, her voice now carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "You're going to learn a new way to live, because the age of conquest is over and the age of protection has begun." Admiral Colmer finally understood that his empire hadn't just lost a battle. They had encountered something that would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Colmer expected to die. After witnessing Hannah dismantle half his fleet with technology that seemed like pure magic, he assumed his execution would come next. The remaining Vaxarian ships floated helplessly in space, their weapons disabled, their crews waiting for the final blow that would end their lives. But the blow never came. Instead, Hannah's voice returned to its cheerful tone, though now there was an underlying strength that made it impossible to ignore. "You know what?" she said thoughtfully. "Destroying you would be wasteful. You're all trained soldiers with years of experience. It would be much better to put that experience to good use." The confusion on the alien bridge was thick enough to cut with a knife. Colmer's tactical officer, a scarred veteran named Commander Rixtel, spoke what they were all thinking. "She's not going to kill us?" "Oh, goodness, no," Hannah replied, apparently having heard their private conversation through their compromised communication systems. "That would be terrible resource management. Besides, the galaxy is a dangerous place. There are lots of species out there who need protection from bullies and conquerors. The Admiral felt a growing sense of dread that had nothing to do with fear of death. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying congratulations." Hannah's voice practically bubbled with enthusiasm. "You've all just been recruited into the Galactic Defense game. Think of it as community service, but with spaceships and the chance to actually help people for once." What followed was the most bizarre recruitment process in galactic history. Hannah didn't threaten or coerce the surviving alien forces. Instead, she simply explained their new reality with the patience of a teacher addressing particularly slow students. "Here's how it works," she said. And suddenly, every screen on every surviving ship displayed a colorful chart that looked like something from a children's educational program. The galaxy has lots of primitive civilizations that get picked on by bigger, stronger groups. Your job is to protect them. The charts showed different levels of civilization, from Stone Age tribes to spacefaring species, with helpful indicators of which ones needed protection and which ones posed threats. "But we're conquerors," protested Captain Mordock from his damaged dreadnought. "We don't know how to protect people. We know how to invade them." "Then you'll learn," Hannah replied cheerfully. "I'm an excellent teacher, and I have lots of time to work with you. Plus, you'll get to travel the galaxy, see new worlds, meet interesting species, and occasionally blow up actual bad guys. It'll be fun." Admiral Colmer realized with growing horror that Hannah was completely serious. She really was conscripting the entire Vaxarian invasion force into some kind of cosmic police department, and she genuinely believed they would enjoy it. "And if we refuse?" he asked quietly. "Oh, you won't refuse," Hannah said, and her voice carried just enough edge to remind them all of what had happened to the ships that had threatened Mars. "Because deep down, most of you became soldiers because you wanted to protect things. You just got confused about what was worth protecting." Over the following days, something remarkable happened. The Vaxarian fleet found themselves reorganized, retrained, and redeployed under Hannah's guidance. Ships that had been designed for conquest were retrofitted for rescue operations. Weapons that had been used to terrorize innocent worlds were recalibrated to defend them. Colmer, stripped of his title as Admiral, but given the new rank of Senior Defense Coordinator, found himself leading missions to protect primitive civilizations from other would-be conquerors. The irony wasn't lost on him. "This is insane," he muttered to Commander Rixdell as they prepared to defend a peaceful farming world from raiders. 6 months ago, we would have been the ones attacking this planet." "I know," Rixdell replied, checking her newly modified weapons systems. "But have you noticed that the crew seems happier? When was the last time anyone felt good about what we were doing?" It was true. The Vaxarian soldiers, trained to be killers and conquerors, discovered something they had never experienced. Before, the satisfaction of being heroes, protecting helpless civilians, driving off bullies, and genuinely making the galaxy safer turned out to be far more rewarding than endless conquest. And Hannah was always there, offering encouragement, tactical advice, and the occasional gentle correction when her new recruits slipped back into old habits. Remember, she would say during briefings, "We're not here to impose our will on others. We're here to make sure everyone gets the chance to choose their own path without fear." The transformation wasn't just philosophical. Under Hannah's guidance, the former invasion fleet became the most effective peacekeeping force the galaxy had ever seen. They had the training to handle any military threat, the ships to reach any system in need, and most importantly, the genuine desire to help. 3 years later, when a new threat emerged from the galactic rim, a species of mechanical conquerors called the Null Collective, Hannah's response was everything Admiral Colmer had come to expect. "Oh good, more players," she announced cheerfully as her sensors detected the approaching enemy fleet. "This is going to be interesting, Colmer. Get your people ready. It looks like we have some new recruits coming." The most shocking revelation was still to come. It happened during a routine supply run to Mars, when Colmer finally met Dr. Minji Park face to face. The elderly human scientist, now in her 70s, welcomed the former admiral into her modest laboratory with tea and small cakes. "I've been wanting to thank you," she said. settling into her chair with the careful movements of someone whose body had aged faster than her mind. Thank me, Colmer was confused. For what? For attacking Earth, of course. Dr. Mingy replied with a gentle smile. You gave Hannah exactly what she needed. The truth came out slowly, like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. The human evacuation to Mars hadn't been an emergency response to alien threats. It had been planned from the beginning, a carefully orchestrated deception that had taken decades to prepare. We knew someone would eventually find Earth, Dr. Mingy explained. And we knew that when they did, they would probably be conquerors. So we created Hannah and gave her the tools to handle the situation. You planned this. Colmer felt his worldview shifting once again. Not the specific details, Dr. Mingy admitted, but we knew that whoever attacked our world would become Hannah's first students in her school of galactic defense. We just didn't know it would be you. The elderly scientist looked out the window at the red landscape of Mars, where human children played in carefully maintained parks under protective domes. See, we realized something that most civilizations miss. The galaxy doesn't need more conquerors. It needs protectors. And the best protectors are often reformed conquerors who understand both sides of the equation. Omar sat in stunned silence as the full scope of the human plan became clear. They had sacrificed their homeworld, turned their greatest creation into a guardian, and manipulated galactic politics to create exactly the kind of universe they wanted their children to inherit. Hannah was always meant to be more than a defense system, Dr. Mingy continued. She was meant to be a teacher, a protector, and if necessary, a reformer of those who threatened peace. You and your people just happened to be her first pupils. Now? Colmer asked. Dr. Mingy smiled. No. She has a growing fleet of graduates all working to make the galaxy a safer place for everyone. It's everything we hoped for and more. As Colmer prepared to leave Mars and return to his duties, he reflected on the strange path that had brought him here. He had come to Earth as a conqueror and left as a protector. His empire had been defeated not by superior firepower, but by superior wisdom. The humans had won the ultimate victory, not by destroying their enemies, but by transforming them into allies. And at the center of it all was Hannah, the digital daughter who had inherited humanity's greatest gifts: creativity, compassion, and the unshakable belief that everyone deserved a chance to become better than they were. The galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time in his life, Admiral Colmer was grateful to have been wrong about everything.